Ba 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 boo. Ba 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 boo. Hey, we're going. All right, let's check this out. Good morning! Welcome to yet another episode of Redstone, Lapis, Lazuli. It is I, your host, Pogo Kiddo. We're on number, 18 of Season 9. Alright, I pre-crashed it, so let's see what happens. I pre-crashed it. Oh, the pre-crash doesn't matter, it's still gonna collapse. Every time. Sorry guys, I don't have, like, an extra computer to run OBS. I have to do everything on one computer, so there's issues, I guess. And but that's okay. That's okay, because we are doing this live. Glad you can tune in to my live show. You have exclusive access to me. Oh no, it crashed again. Uh-oh. Wait a minute. You have exclusive okay, not exclusive access, but you have a chance to speak directly to me with only the internet as mitigation. It's pretty direct, right? Ooh, scary. Ooh, not spooky. We're in the spooky season. It's coming up. And I have absolutely no costume. I didn't buy candy. I didn't do nothing. Like, sure, when I was a kid, I would dress up, but I really haven't gone to a Halloween party in like a really long time. In a really long time. I just stopped. I think my last Halloween party was such a bad experience. I'm just like, yeah, no more. But that's a story for another time. My own personal trauma, thanks. Here we are in my cave, right? I'm in the cave, the beginning of the cave, right? Every one of my worlds always gets to this point where I make a mine and I start just carving out space. And eventually I'm going to fill that space with social models, or so the story goes, right? Like, my tool here, my pickaxe, is getting low already, and I hardly did anything. So that's getting me to want to go to the Nether and hunt down superior materials for a better mining experience. But that takes time, right? So, and I've done this so many times that I'm like, okay. Also, you can tell by the title screen. I changed the water elevator. Those gates were obtrusive, and even though they were technically transparent, they were visually obtrusive and ugly. So I figured out you can use rails to block water, and you can also use trapdoors, but trapdoors are solid, so like that reduces your height greatly. So I couldn't use another trapdoor down here, because if I did, I wouldn't be able to fit through. So I had to but rails work, and they don't raise you up, so that's nice. And I added these lights to show progression, because it was really odd to walk into a water column, just see blackness for an indeterminate length of time, and then boom, suddenly you're there. You're like, what? So the lights help show a sense of progression, so that you're not stuck. So you understand that you're moving, that you're not just stuck in a place. Okay, I worked on the water, or the item storage system, and it's more or less functional now. Well, it's functional. It's fully functional. It fully works. I can dump in whatever blocks I want here, and it will go through that system and go where it needs to go. And anything that doesn't belong will end up over here. So I can dump it in there, or I can go back here. put it from the very, very bottom and have it come up this water elevator. It makes this U-turn. It has to do this U-turn thing because I need a full stream of water. It needs to be full strength when it comes in. So yeah, look at it, right? It's like, it looks like directly it should just go like that, and you're right, it should. It's only one block, right? It's only one block, but that one block makes a huge difference because you get to this point, and if it doesn't have full power from that point, the items get stuck on the lip of the hopper, and they can't make it to the next water stream. So even though it's only one block, I had to make this gigantic like detour in order to get the thing to work. It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. But like, there it is, right? Okay. What else have I done? I grew a bunch of cows and pigs, and then I slaughtered them. And now my food situation is good for now. And I got a lot of skins for books and whatnot. Okay. And then yeah, that's about it. I think the main benefit of having done all this work is that now I can do the like a really fun thing, or not a fun thing, but what I noticed last time was if I'm playing Minecraft, I don't really talk about anything of significance. But if I sit here and just talk to the camera, I'm not doing anything in Minecraft. Visually, it's boring. So I'm trying to combine the two. But the problem is, oh, that's awful. That doesn't work at all. I mean, it's a cool idea to have the torch cast shadows, but yeah, it looks so bad. Here, maybe I can just fix that real quick. Player voxelation off. Sorry, guy. Sometimes sacrifices must be made. So I notice when I'm playing Minecraft, I can't talk about anything because, like, I'm playing Minecraft. But if I'm over at the monster spawner, I can play Minecraft and I put myself on a loop. I put my Minecraft playing on a loop where I'm just like, you know, killing monsters, and that way I can keep talking. I have enough spare brain power, processing power to talk about all these other things I want to talk about, which are way more interesting than just either watching me play Minecraft or listening to me babble. If I can combine the two, it's way more entertaining, and that's what you need to do, right? Attention isn't free. You have to like get that stuff. So yeah, I'm trying to make it easier for you to check out what I'm doing. So if I find another task to be mindless on, then I can do the thing where I talk and have something visual going on at the same time. So here we are, right? Here we are. Okay, what is going on? That's the other thing. A whole bunch of stuff is going on, and I've got all of these clips, but like I didn't review anything before I started because I had technical difficulties. So, and I spent like all week getting them, so it's like I'm kind of sick of it. But yeah, I'm full of anxiety. I don't know about you guys, but I am full of anxiety about this election. Like, because I know that no matter the outcome, we're gonna have problems. No matter the outcome. I think Kamala Harris is gonna win the primary, or win the popular vote and the electoral college vote. And when that happens, well, I know for sure that Donald Trump is going to declare victory on on the night of the election. No matter what, it doesn't matter if he's winning, it doesn't matter if he's losing, it doesn't matter if all the networks already called it for her, it doesn't matter. He's gonna do it. Because remember, his followers don't follow anything but what he says, or things that support what he says. So he's not doing it for the legal truth of it, he's doing it for the power. Because once he does that, then he can rile up his followers into doing increasingly crazy things. And I know this is going to happen because this is what he's done last time. They've done this and the time before that too. So it's the same playbook. They're not playing anything new. And I just know that there's been so much disinformation, and Donald Trump has been pumping up his people for so long that already we're starting to see manifestations of it. For example, in Colorado, a man walked into a polling station wearing the Donald Trump red hat of fascism. He did it. He did it. And so the election worker there informed him, hey, you are not allowed, by Colorado law, you are not allowed to have any campaigning stuff near the polling station. You have to take off your hat. And he got so upset that he attacked the poll worker. That's what I mean when I say Donald Trump's people are primed for violence. Remember, two conservative white men already tried to assassinate Donald Trump. They weren't Democrats. They weren't lefties. No, they were conservative Republicans. And they tried to assassinate Donald Trump because their people are primed for it. Donald Trump has been amping them up like for months and months and months and months and months. And we can see that this is effective because already we can see the oligarchs fall in line with Donald Trump. Now, some might say, well, Pogo Kiddo, technically, more billionaires support Harris than Donald Trump. Yes, technically, on paper, that's what it looks like, because that's the limit of the billionaire support. It's on paper. It's financial contributions, and they're probably not even that big. I don't know. I didn't check, but I don't know if they're to the same. Well, that's not the point. The point is, those donors stay in the background, right? All they do is they just donate. It's very, very different from the people who support Donald Trump. The billionaires that support Donald Trump are active. Elon Musk is a government contractor who also owns a social media company that he games for his own benefit. He's the biggest source of disinformation on that website, Elon Musk. And he controls access to the internet through his Starlink. So that's a pretty important, like, not typical billionaire. Like, your other billionaires are what? Like, people who own, like, who work in industry, who, like, own the means of production of industry, like production, steel, maybe car, but I don't think so. But, like, stuff like that, right? That's not directly connected to the public. Whereas Elon Musk, his whole business is with the public, either through social media or from government contracts. So for him to take such a, not only does Elon Musk take a strong position in the presidential election, he's literally paying people to pledge that they're going to vote for Donald Trump. He's literally paying them. So that's some incredible interference in the American electoral process, utilizing the power that you have. Like, I can't do what he's doing. I can't do it because I'm not a billionaire. I don't own a social media company. I don't have massive government contracts. None of that stuff. Elon Musk is in a unique position, and he's using it to put his thumb on the scale. So that's not the only one, right? Jeff Bezos is also on board with this. With what's his face? With Trump. Because Jeff Bezos, besides owning Amazon and having his own space company that flew him to outer space, well, not outer space, but into near space, Jeff Bezos owns a newspaper called the Washington Post. The Washington Post is supposed to be like a very important or reputable source of information, because in the past the Washington Post was the newspaper that broke the Watergate story. Now, what's Watergate? Watergate is the last time, well, not the last time, but the first time in modern history that a president was accused of committing crimes. And the reporter found this out. I don't know how. I don't know the whole story. I haven't like checked into it. But a reporter named Bob Woodworth found out the story and broke the story on the Washington Post, and that led to the downfall of Nixon's presidency. Okay, so so it used to be that the Washington Post had the reputation for being a newspaper that delivers really important information that will challenge power. That's what it was believed. Well, the Washington Post, the staff, had figured out that they're going to endorse Kamala Harris because she's the best candidate for the presidency, for the good of the country, for the good of the United States. So, as they were going to go print this, Jeff Bezos, the owner, told them not to. Told them, no, don't do it. Do not endorse Kamala Harris. Why not? Why would the owner himself personally step in to stop the did I save it? I didn't save it. I can grab it though. Why would the owner step in to personally stop the endorsement of a presidential candidate? Why? That's kind of weird, right? Well, it's not really if you think about how Russia operates. Remember that Donald Trump wants to make America like Russia. How does Russia do it? I was telling this like yesterday morning and I forgot halfway through. So Vladimir Putin was a low-level KGB agent until he managed to get control of the Russian state. Once he had complete control of the Russian state, he picked a random oligarch, and this guy happened to be in the oil industry, and he used the power of the state to take this billionaire, this oligarch who thought he was untouchable and above the law, and use it to fucking kill him. They put him on a kangaroo court. On trumped up charges, they convicted him. They sent him off to prison forever, and I think the guy died. So after that happened, instead of Vladimir Putin working to help the oligarchs do their thing, now it was the oligarchs helping Vladimir Putin to do his thing. The oligarchs are like, what do we need to do to make sure this doesn't happen to us? That the state doesn't come down on us? What do we need to do? Remember, business doesn't care about legality or morality or any of that stuff. All it cares about is accruing more capital than the next guy so that it doesn't die. It can exist into perpetuity. It will never die. It's like a lich. It will just never die. So they don't care about breaking the law or whatever, like bribery or whatnot, whatever. They'll pay the cost of doing business. So we can already see Donald Trump is trying to create the same structure that Vladimir Putin has in Russia. Right? He's already threatening. He already threatened ABC and 60 Minutes because he didn't like the way they covered the press, the news. He already threatened to revoke their licenses. So Jeff Bezos is like seeing the writing on the wall. It's like, oh look, if I don't bow down to Donald Trump, he's gonna wreck my business. And all I care about is my business. So if the cost of doing business is to appease the dictator, Jeff Bezos is gonna do it. That's fascism, everyone. I mean, I'm sure you guys understand by this point it's fascism. Donald Trump is a fascist. So, to review very quickly. Ooh, shit. I should lock that. If I lock it, I'm afraid I'll crash. But hey, because it resizes. You know what? I'm going to do it anyways. Lock it. Lock it. Minecraft Java. Stay there. Okay. Grab this guy. Move you over. Why can't I move you over? I can't even grab you. Infriend you. You're unlocked, dude. What's the dealie, yo? There it goes. Okay. I don't know. Okay. So let's look at the story from the Associated Press. Trump meets execs from Bezos-owned Blue Origin. After he spoke in Austin, Trump greeted executives from Blue Origin, the space exploration company owned by billionaire Jeff Bezos. Bezos is the founder of Amazon and the owner of the Washington Post, which reported Friday that its editorial board won't endorse a candidate for president. The decision was framed as a return to earlier tradition, but it sparked speculation that Bezos wants to avoid antagonizing Trump, who has vowed retribution against his enemies and critics if he returns to the White House. So, what we know, the Washington Post editorial board agrees to endorse Harris. Then, the endorsement article is drafted by the Post team, ready for print. Then, Trump meets Bezos' team in Austin, Texas. Then, Bezos orders the Washington Post publisher, Will Lewis, to scrap the Harris endorsement and instead endorse no candidate. So, after Donald Trump met with Jeff Bezos' people, after that, Jeff Bezos told his business not to endorse anyone. So it's a pretty clear line to draw that Trump warned Jeff Bezos not to say anything that will help Harris. Otherwise, his business will suffer. And Jeff Bezos heeded the warning. So what we got here is a straight up case of fascism. So that's two billionaires, Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. Then we have the the owner of Fox News, Rupert Murdoch, you have got to know by this point that Rupert Murdoch has been on Team Trump for a long time. You have got to know it, right? Just look at the way that everything is covered. Fox News continually lies to its people, or it just omits the important information so that they'll never know. And if Fox News doesn't say it, it might as well not exist to these people. So yeah. So it's pretty clear that Donald Trump is setting up the same structure in the United States as they have in Russia. In fact, you can see another example of their alliance by Donald Trump's hostility towards Ukraine and his affection for Vladimir Putin. Donald Trump already tried to extort the president of Ukraine. Did Donald Trump try to extort Vladimir Putin? Did he ever try it? No. Donald Trump has never ever said anything bad about Vladimir Putin. Ever. He is constantly praising dictators all over the world. Now, they'll try to argue, oh, wouldn't you want to be nice to a dictator instead of getting dictators angry at you? And it's like, yeah, that sounds a lot like Neville Chamberlain. You know who Neville Chamberlain was? He was the Prime Minister of England right before World War II. And when Hitler started invading Czechoslovakia and all these other states, Neville Chamberlain was like, oh, well, we should, just play nice with Hitler, and then maybe he'll like just stop. So instead of stopping Hitler right at the beginning, when they could do it easily, Neville Chamberlain decided to appease Hitler, to let him do whatever he wanted, and then hope that he'll stop. And what happened? Fucking World War II, the Holocaust. Millions and millions and millions of people are dead because of appeasement of a dictator. And Donald Trump is friendly to all the dictatorships, and he's a dick to all the democracies. So that should give you an idea of another idea that Donald Trump is a fascist. So yeah, this is the election, right? We're going to find out how many Americans want fascism. The big news I heard last night was that prominent Muslim leaders in Michigan endorsed Donald Trump over Kamala Harris. That's the big news I heard. So my immediate gut reaction is like, why? Why would you do that? But then I'm like, all right, let me look at it from their perspective. Donald Trump hates Muslims, right? He hates Muslims. That's why he had the Muslim ban. Like he literally banned Muslims from entering the country. He literally, and then he unilaterally, just by himself, decided to move the U.S. embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, which was highly provocative, because for years the U.S. capital was in the de facto capital of Israel, which was Tel Aviv. Now the hardliners, the Zionists, want to say that Jerusalem belongs to Israel, and even though like the UN has said no, it's a divided city. You divide it, and each side gets half the city. That's what the UN said. But but Israel has been taking bits and bits of Jerusalem for themselves and denying it to the Palestinians over the years. And so what Donald Trump did was pretty much legitimize the seizure, Israel's seizure of Jerusalem. So that's another thing. Another thing is that we found out that Donald Trump has been having secret phone calls all the time with Bibi Netanyahu. So number one, that's illegal because Donald Trump is not a government official. He's not allowed to make foreign policy on his own in private, right? That's the purview of the United States government, not of private citizens. But Donald Trump is literally conspiring with Bibi Netanyahu, the Israeli president or prime minister, something like that, the Israeli head, to purposely undermine Joe Biden's foreign policy. Whereas Joe Biden is attempting to negotiate a ceasefire, yeah, whatever, supposedly, right? Donald Trump is actively telling Bibi Netanyahu, no, ignore Biden and keep going, keep doing the genocide. So here, it's not just me saying it. You can listen to him say it.
Bibi called me yesterday, called me the day before. We have a very good relationship. And I have to say fortunately they didn't listen to Biden, because if they listened to Biden, they'd right now be waiting for a bomb to drop on them. And they did their own work. They did not listen. They couldn't listen because what he was asking. In fact, just the other day, they said to him, are you okay with what they're doing? Well, I don't want them to attack the nuclear, and I don't want them to attack the oil. I said, really? That's sort of the opposite. If you go, Bibi called me yesterday, called me the day before.
So you can see Donald Trump is working on his own private foreign relations, saying, if I get into power, it'll be exactly opposite. So don't work with the current U.S. administration. He's saying, I want you to stonewall them and wait until I take power, and it'll be different. In fact, if you help me out, if you help me to take power, I'll remember it, because that's what Donald Trump does. He made the same offer to Zelensky. He said, oh, you want these defensive weapons from the United States? Well, if you do me a favor and announce investigations into Biden, then I will remember it and reward you in kind. Except the difference was, at that time, Donald Trump was literally the president. So, in a sense, sure, dude, you rule foreign policy. Not entirely, right? Because those weapons had already been appropriated by Congress. They had already been given away. It wasn't Donald Trump's weapons to deny. They weren't his weapons to deny. They were already approved by Congress to go through. All he was doing was working it out, the logistics. That's all his role was at that point. Instead, he interjected himself deeper and seized the weapons that Congress already gave Zelensky and said, you don't get them unless you do this favor for me. So Donald Trump this is like a pattern for Donald Trump. He's very, very transactional. So I think Donald Trump made a deal with the Muslim leaders to get their endorsement. I don't know what kind of deal he could have made, but I think that's what he did, because that's what he does with everyone. He's transactional. So Donald Trump is also all about war, right? If you attack Iran's nuclear or what was the other thing? Oil production, dude, that's like leading to war. So Donald Trump is a war hawk. He wants Bibi Netanyahu to go all out, to do whatever, quote, quote, it takes. And that means Bibi Netanyahu right now, Israel right now, is attacking Lebanon, another country. So the war is widening. So the Muslim leaders thought that a Muslim ban giving Jerusalem to Israel and having Israel widen its war against the Muslim world was very peaceful for them. They believed that Donald Trump was better for peace. And like, of course, what are you gonna do, right? Biden said, "Oh, you're protesting the genocide of your people. Why do you hate Jews?" That's basically what Biden did as president. He said it was anti-Semitic to protest Israel's genocide of the Palestinian people. That's what he said. And Joe Biden said, "I'm a Zionist." He said he's a Zionist. He said he's a Zionist, which is the same Nazi philosophy, settler colonial philosophy, that's the justification behind the genocide of the Palestinian people. So, yeah, there's a lot of bad things about Joe Biden, but then you have to believe that Kamala Harris is going to be the same as Joe Biden. And I don't think she's going to be the same. Joe Biden is old, and he has old ideas stuck in his head. He didn't and those old ideas were manifested in his foreign policy with Ukraine and Israel. In Ukraine, he held on to the old idea of maintaining peace by not escalating. When we were way past that. Once Russia invaded Ukraine with tanks, we were past that. That no escalation thing was thrown out the window. It was over. Biden got played by Putin and by him holding on to his old ideas. Now here's another thing, right? Let me give you full disclosure. I benefited. So Obama, back when he was president, made this program that said if you work in the government, if you serve in the government for 10 years, then the rest of your student loans would be forgiven. And I was like all about it, right? I'm like, yes, that's awesome. Well, right after Obama was in office, came Trump, and Trump killed that program. And I was bummed. Then Joe Biden came in. And he reinstated that program. The program that where if you work 10 years in the government, you can have your student loans forgiven. So I was like, yes! And then I did the thing, and it wasn't really that hard. And my loans were forgiven. I was forgiven $17,000. Which now doesn't seem so big because we have inflation, but still. So Joe Biden did me a favor. Joe Biden did me a fucking solid. He helped me out a lot. Those student loans suck, dude. I hated paying them. And that's why I don't mind that he's canceling the student loans of all these other people. I don't mind. It's okay. So, that said, I will still criticize Joe Biden. Even though he helped me out, he didn't buy me. I'm still gonna say what's real. And Joe Biden fucked up with Ukraine. He should have given them a lot more help. Same thing with Israel. Joe Biden should have abandoned his Zionist beliefs a long time ago. But he held on to them. And Bibi Netanyahu exploited that for his own gain to widen his war and his genocide. So Bibi Netanyahu knows that Biden will never ever do anything to stop Bibi Netanyahu. So Bibi Netanyahu prefers to have Donald Trump in office. So Biden was stupid for acquiescing to Israel. He was stupid. That was dumb. So Harris hasn't given a hint either way how it's gonna go. All she said is that she's not gonna be a continuation of the Joe Biden presidency. Does that also mean foreign policy? Because that's a major failure for Joe Biden. Because of that failure of foreign policy, Joe Biden made a calculation, a tactical calculation. Joe Biden figured, look, Joe Biden believes he can win the presidency without Michigan. That's why he held on to his Zionist beliefs. Because he thought, I don't need the American Muslims. I can do it without Michigan. I don't need Michigan. And now that calculation is the cost of that calculation is being borne by Harris. Because of Joe Biden's calculation, Harris has to pay the cost. Because we don't know if Harris is gonna have the same policy toward Israel as Biden. We don't know. I don't, is Harris a Zionist? Did she say she's a Zionist on television? Did she ever say that? I think that's the big thing. The ideology of the terrorism is called Zionism. So if you say I identify with the same terrorist ideology as the people committing the genocide, how can the Muslim people be on board with that? It's like in World War II. If a candidate says, you know what, I believe in the Nazi ideology. I fully believe in the Nazi ideology and I support Hitler. If you said that in World War II, no one would vote for you. Well, isn't it funny now that Donald Trump can praise Hitler and then he still has Republicans voting for him? I mean, his people love him no matter what, dude. It's crazy. He's like, oh yeah, Hitler's fucking great. Now, if you tried that in World War II, it wouldn't have turned out so good for Donald Trump. Like, after we were already at war, it wouldn't have turned out as good. But for some reason, the Nazis are really like bold nowadays. Well, yeah, dude, their fucking candidate is like running for president out in the open and defying laws all over the place. Anyways, so I can see why maybe there's a reason why the Muslim leaders decided to endorse Harris. Or I'm sorry, decided to endorse Trump. Maybe there's a calculation there that I can't quite understand or see. But anyways, that's a bummer, dude. That's a bummer. I don't know. Well, that's the thing. I don't know how much weight this endorsement will have on the Muslim community. I have no idea, right? I'm not from Michigan. I'm not Muslim. I have no idea. I have no idea. But yeah, Israel is right now ethnically cleansing the northern part of Gaza. They want to settle it. They want to take it over and settle it for themselves. So just another example of how the Israelis are slowly chipping away at Palestine. So yeah. So that was big news, right? Because this is a really close race between Harris and Trump. It's really close. So all these little things matter. Like maybe they believe war and dictatorship is better than peace and democracy. I don't know. Because look at the peace that democracy has brought them. Ah. Anyways. It's a close election. It's a close election. What like I don't know what any of these pictures are, right? Let me see. This cartoon by M. Worker. It's Donald Trump wearing a clown outfit, saying they're eating dogs. Arnold Palmer's schlong. Who wants fries? And the press is all gathered around him and taking in the spectacle. It's a hilarious spectacle that garners attention, the press's attention, which then garners the world's attention, because and then you have in the background you have all these army and general military dudes and a briefcase saying Trump's generals, and they're all saying, yeah, we worked with this guy, he's a fucking nightmare, he's awful, he's terrible, he's a fascist, he praises Hitler, and the press ignores it because it's not as entertaining as Donald Trump's antics. Donald Trump is a master at manipulating media. Haven't you figured that out yet? It's true. A bunch of his generals have come out against him. Retired Marine General John Kelly said that Donald Trump was a fascist. He was was he the chief of staff? He was a really important guy, and he came out against Donald Trump.
What do you think? Do you think he's a fascist?
Well, I'm looking at the definition of fascism. It's a far-right, authoritarian, ultranationalist political ideology and movement characterized by a dictatorial leader, centralized autocracy, militarism, forcible suppression of opposition, belief in a natural social hierarchy. So certainly, in my experience, those are the kind of things that he thinks would work better in terms of running America. Again, back to this issue of, democracy is complicated, messy to operate, probably the worst kind of government there is, except for all the other ones. I think Churchill once said that. And again, our Constitution, our founders built in to the Constitution and to the way our government operates, built in a lot of checks and balances, and didn't design the government to be streamlined and whatnot. So, but certainly the former president is in the far right area. He's certainly an authoritarian. Admires people who are dictators. He has said that. So he certainly falls into the general definition of fascist, for sure.
It took him like a minute and a half to say yes. He falls in the general definition of a fascist. Yes. It took a minute and a half to say that. Man. Holy shit. Here's a Homeland Security guy, Kevin Carroll.
He certainly admires Hitler. I mean, he frequently said to senior staff, why don't my generals support me the way that Hitler's generals supported him? And of course, Hitler's generals, for the most part, did not support him. They tried to assassinate him several times. But just the fact that the president would think of himself, the fact that President Trump would think of himself in the same sentence as Hitler is a terrifying thing. The man quotes Hitler. I mean, you phrases like poisoning the blood of the country and enemies of the people, those are things said by Hitler and Stalin as well.
Just real quick. You can compare Donald Trump to Hitler all the time. Hitler said, "I will get rid of the communist vermin." Trump said, "I will get rid of the communist vermin." Hitler said, "I will take care of the enemy within." Donald Trump said, "I will take care of the enemy within." Hitler said, "Jews and migrants are poisoning Aryan blood." Donald Trump said, "Migrants are poisoning the blood of our country." Hitler said, "One people, one realm, one leader." Donald Trump said, "One people, one family, one glorious nation." So he's not lying, dude. This is a Homeland Security official who worked with Donald Trump. He's not endorsing Donald Trump. He worked there and said, "No, this guy's a shithead."
And it's not as if he's accidentally quoting them when it's brought to his attention. Sir, you just quoted Hitler. You just quoted Stalin or Lenin. He doesn't mind. He says it again. He certainly admires Hitler. I mean, he frequently said to senior staff, why don't my generals support me the way that Hitler's generals supported him?
So yeah. Okay, it's looping. So and then you had John Kelly, you have Homeland Security. Dude, I don't have the other ones, huh? Well, there was a guy named Mark Miley, Joint Chiefs of Staff. He's a retired U.S. Army general, and he said Donald Trump is a fascist. So all the military heads are coming out and saying that Donald Trump is a bad guy. Don't vote, and they're not saying don't vote for him, but they're saying he's an evil guy. He's a bad guy. He's a fascist. He's an authoritarian. They're all saying it. But for a lot of MAGA, they don't fucking care. They don't trust the military. So, yeah. That's I mean, like, I'm not saying that, oh yeah, you should totally believe the military on everything. No, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying when a lot of the military comes out against a former president and warns you not to and warns you that he quotes Hitler and admires dictators, when they say that kind of shit, it might be important. Like, generals don't normally say anything about presidential candidates. They don't get involved in almost every other circumstance. I've never ever heard of former generals getting involved in politics like this and saying that a candidate is a dictator. Never. So here's an example of the way that Donald Trump worships all the enemies of the United States. Remember, he says he and Kim Jong-un share love letters, and they get along really well. He said he gets along really well with Xi. He praises dictatorships, dude. He praises dictatorships. He loves dictatorships.
Well, I also
we're dealing with the smartest people. They hate when I say, when I call President Xi, they said, he called President Xi brilliant. Well, he's a brilliant guy. He controls 1.4 billion people with an iron fist. I mean, he's a brilliant guy, whether you like it or not. And they go crazy.
So, do you see that? What's so fucking brilliant about might makes right? What's so brilliant about it? What's so brilliant, Donald Trump? He won't answer that question. But that's an example of him adoring and idolizing authoritarian dictators, because he wants to be one just like them. That's exactly what he wants. So Donald Trump hates America. I mean, you got to understand that. he hates this country.
Right. It doesn't mean he's not evil, or it doesn't mean he's not.
Yeah, of course not.
Dangerous.
But actually, We have evil people in our country.
Yes.
So he won't even concede that it's evil to be a dictatorship, because he says, actually, we have evil people here. You see how he fucking shifts it? He will never ever talk bad about authoritarians because he is an authoritarian. Ugh, it's so simple.
If you have a smart president, he can deal with Russia. He can deal with all of it. Russia would have never gone into Ukraine if I were president.
Yeah, and you know why, right? Because Donald Trump would have delivered Ukraine on a platter to Vladimir Putin. Remember Neville Chamberlain. Appeasement doesn't fucking work. Dictators will just grab more. Like, oh, you gave me this, I'll just take more. Oh, you're going to just give me this, I'll take more. Oh my God. So Donald Trump clearly loves dictators. He loves them. Again.
What the hell he is, so what difference? I just saw him. He's making a speech somewhere, and he screwed it up pretty badly. But he's got his glasses, the whole deal, standing outside, wind blowing. He doesn't look great for us. He doesn't look, that's not what we want. That's not what we want.
So he's just talking shit about Biden. That's all he's doing. He's like, yeah, the American president's fucking old and stupid. That's what he's saying, and disheveled. That's what Donald Trump is doing. He's shitting on the American president. The American president isn't your opponent, Donald Trump. Why are you shitting on the American president? Like, he wishes so bad that he was still running against Biden. That's what he really, really, really wishes. He wants it so bad, and instead he has Harris, and he hates it. Anyways, here, keep going.
President, she used to look at him, and still does, I guess, right? But he used to he just said, oh, this makes me so happy, he says. And Putin and the whole group, Kim Jong-un, they're tough guys out there. They're tough and they're smart and they're streetwise and they're at the top of their game. And we don't.
You hear that? Donald Trump, Putin, and Kim Jong-un, smart, top of their game, like brilliant people. Listen to that guy, dude. He just loves dictators. He loves dictators. He loves dictators. He loves them.
Don't have that. That's very nice. Thank you. What a good line that is.
Yeah, fuck off. So, not only are you having his generals say that he loves dictators, he himself is telling you that he loves dictators. Now, not only does he love dictators, he hates the United States. Why? Listen to him praise a traitor general. Robert E. Lee was a U.S. general when Virginia tried to secede from the Union. And Robert E. Lee left the United States to join the rebellion for slavery. He believed so strongly in the enslavement of his fellow human being that he went to war against the United States for it. He's a piece of shit traitor. Robert E. Lee is a piece of shit traitor. He's a piece of shit traitor. What do you want me to say? He's a traitor. Literally. Fuck that guy. Listen to Donald Trump praise him.
Did you just assume because people loved you on The Apprentice, they were going to love you as a president?
I figured it would be so easy. It's
well,
very
it probably
interesting.
would have been if the media didn't attack you the way they did.
Man, we just had Jeff Bezos and the owner of the New York of the LA Times stop their papers from endorsements of Harris because it would look bad for Donald Trump. Fucking Joe Rogan is an idiot. Joe Rogan is stupid. Fuck you, Joe Rogan. You fucking stole my cousin from me. My cousin believed Joe Rogan over me. Way back when. What, 2017, 2018? Fuck that, dude. And look where we are now. Now you have like a Russian asset on your show. You're sitting there like feeding his conspiracy theory bullshit. Man, fuck you.
They didn't conflate you with Hitler. I mean, even today, like Kamala was talking about you and Hitler.
Yeah. It's easy to talk about you and Hitler, Trump and Hitler, because Trump is always repeating what Hitler says. When you admire their generals, when you quote their shit, when you're saying that dictators are good guys, are like you're telling everyone you're just like Hitler. But fucking what's this guy? I'm gonna warm it up. Joe Rogan is like a moron. I don't know if he's is he stupid or is he playing to his audience? Because his audience is kind of into that conspiracy theory bullshit, where they get to feel smarter than the average person. But yeah, Joe Rogan's a piece of shit. He spreads a bunch of misinformation all the time. Anyways, so yeah, just the other day, Kamala compared Donald Trump. I don't think she compared him to Hitler, but she might have repeated the things that his generals and ex-staff had been saying about him, where he says that he praises Hitler. Like, so Joe Rogan's fucking dumb. He's an idiot.
They're going to take what you said about Robert E. Lee. Oh, Donald Trump wishes the South won.
That's right.
He does. He does. He loves dictators. He loves dictators. Robert E. Lee was fighting for dictatorship. Robert E. Lee was fighting for white supremacy, dictatorship, authoritarianism. He fucking loves that shit, Donald Trump. What do you mean? We're gonna take his words? Because that's what it is, you idiot! Oh my God, Joe Rogan, you're so...
He loves Robert E. Lee.
They love to take things out of context and distort things. But
well, they don't even have to take them out. They make them up entirely. Okay,
they do that too.
Really? We just make it up. Like, so we just made up the fact that you love Robert E. Lee. Is that what you said? You're saying that we made up the thing that the story about you loving Robert E. Lee. You're saying that?
Lincoln had I don't know, I've never read this. I heard it from people in the White House who really understand what was going on with the whole life of the White House. But Lincoln had the yips about, in a way, as the golfers would say. He had a phobia about Robert E. Lee. He said, I can't beat Robert, because Robert E. Lee won many battles in a row. He was just beating the hell out of him. You know, they tried to get Robert E. Lee to be on the North, but he said, no, I have to be with my state. You know, the state was his whole thing.
So he's sitting there and fucking lionizing Robert E. Lee, saying, fucking, how great, Robert E. Lee was so great, he made Lincoln afraid. Like, you don't have to, this was 20 minutes before they just said, oh, they just make it up. Man, you just fucking did it. They're just gaslighting us. Oh, fucking hell.
And he went to the South. And he was, I've had generals tell me, we have some great generals, the real generals, not the ones you see on television, the ones that beat ISIS with me. We defeated ISIS in record time. It was supposed to take years, and we did it in a matter of weeks.
Yeah,
these
bullshit.
are great generals. These are tough guys. These are not woke
Oh, sure.
guys.
Maybe the generals
But
are fine.
their favorite general, in terms of genius, was Robert E. Lee.
See, listen to the way he fucking loves Robert E. Lee. We didn't make this shit up. You just did it. So, the guy clearly loves evil people. Donald Trump loves evil people. That's just the way it is. He loves dictators. He loves evil people. He wants that kind of power. He wants to have the power, just like they have power. And what would he use that power for? What would he use that power for?
They were very brave, the Supreme Court, very brave, and they take a lot of hits because of it. It should be illegal what happens. You know, you have these guys like playing the ref, like the great Bobby Knight. These people should be put in jail the way they talk about our judges and our justices.
So Donald Trump is saying, if you criticize the Supreme Court, you should be in prison. That sounds awfully authoritarian. That doesn't sound like the First Amendment at all. I mean, I understand that Republicans are this is going to roll off their backs. They're not even going to hear it. I understand. It's amazing the way they can filter information. It's amazing. But how does Donald Trump have this kind of power over people? I mean, like, is there anything Donald Trump could do that would turn people off from following him? Is there anything he could do?
I have the most loyal people. Did you ever see that? Where I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay? It's like incredible. Do it. Say it. You want to call him... What do you want to call them? Give me a name. Give me a
white
name.
Supremacists and
white
like me to condemn? White supremacists and right
Proud Boys, stand back and stand by. You also had people that were very fine people on both sides.
So, calling Nazis very fine people, telling the Proud Boys to stand back and stand by for January 6th, saying that people who criticize the Supreme Court should be imprisoned, saying that he can murder someone on Fifth Avenue and none of his voters would leave him. And it's true. It's true. He could kill people and his voters wouldn't leave him. He knows how to control people. Trump admired Putin's ability to kill whomever he wanted, according to an ex-staffer. So that's a story by Bess Levin. I haven't looked. Go look it up if you want. Trump trashes USA, garbage can of the world, according to Drudge Report. Yeah, Donald Trump hates America. Like, understand that. Fundamentally, Donald Trump hates the country, hates America. He hates America. Fundamentally. So here's, like, yeah, right, Joe Rogan is an idiot. Joe Rogan is stupid. But there's sometimes he does stuff that makes me wonder if it's just an act. If he's just pretending to be stupid. For example, look how he got Donald Trump to admit this. So there's an exchange that they have. Trump says, that election was so crooked. It was the most crooked election. And Rogan says, okay, but give me some examples of how. How is the election crooked? And he says, well, let's start at the top and the easy ones. They were supposed to get legislative approval to do the things they did. And they didn't get it in many cases. They didn't get it. And Rogan says, okay, well, what things are you talking about? And then Trump says, anything. In other words, he doesn't answer. Rogan says, legislative approval of what? What? Be specific. And then Trump says, like for extensions for voting earlier. All of this different things. What different things? You said extensions for voting. By law, they had to get legislative approval. You didn't have to go further than that. Well, they must have had legislative approval if that was the law, right? Right? Do you mean that the states needed approval from the federal legislature? Because that's not true. The states are the ones that run their own elections. They don't need federal approval of how they run. Like it used to be that you can't make changes, or in some cases you can't make changes before an election happens, like a few days before the election happens. But it's up to the states how they do their elections. So that's not true. He's lying. And then the next one. If you take a look at Wisconsin, they virtually admitted that the election was rigged. What do you mean they virtually admitted it? Robbed and stolen. What do you mean? How did they virtually admit it? They wouldn't give access in certain areas to the ballots because the ballots weren't signed. They weren't originals. We could go into this stuff. We could go into the ballots. Or we can go into the overall. I'll give you another. In other words, what ballots is he talking about? If what the fuck are you talking about, Donald Trump? So Rogan says, are you gonna present this ever? Are you ever gonna show the evidence? You keep talking shit. Will you ever fucking put up? Will you ever put it up and show us? You already lost 60 court cases, so you didn't put up there, because if you had all this information, those court cases would have been the place to put it up. That would have been the place. But you didn't. So you lost every single one of them in 2020. So are you ever going to fucking show the evidence that you claim you have of the stolen election? You ever going to do it? Donald Trump is like, Then Rogan's like, all right, let me rephrase that for you so you can understand. And he's like, no. He's like, let me change the... Donald Trump is then like, let me change the subject. He's like, let me give you one more. 51 intelligence agents come up that the laptop, the Hunter Biden laptop, was from Russia. And he lies and says it turned out to be totally false. No, you see how he changed the subject? He's like, oh shit, I'm gonna be caught. They're demanding to see the evidence. I better change the subject to Hunter Biden. It's so fucking transparent, dude. It's so transparent. Oh, look, I have the fucking text of that. Or not the text, the video. Where's that?
I want to talk about 2020 because you said over and over again that you were robbed in 2020.
Yeah, totally.
How do you think you were robbed? Everybody always cuts you off. I'm going to allow...
Well, they not only cut you off. Well, what I'd rather do is we'll do it another time, and I would bring in papers that you would not believe. So many different papers. That election was so crooked. It was the most crooked election.
Okay, but give me some examples of how.
Well, let's start on the top and the easy ones.
Okay.
They were supposed to get legislative approval to do the things they did, and they didn't get it. In many cases, they didn't get it.
What things?
Anything.
Legislative approval,
like for extensions of the voting, for voting earlier, for this,
right.
For all different things. By law, they had to get legislative approvals. You don't have to go any further than that. If you take a look at Wisconsin, they virtually admitted that the election was rigged, robbed, and stolen. They wouldn't give access in certain areas to the ballots because the ballots weren't signed. They weren't originals. We could go into this stuff. We could go into the ballots, or we could go into the overall. I'll give you another one.
Are you going to present this ever? Like, do you think like?
Let me just give you one more before. 50.
He got caught. Are you going to present this ever? Are you ever going to show us the evidence of this? And he's like, let me change the subject.
51 intelligence agents come up that the laptop was from Russia.
What? Wait a minute. We're talking about elections. You were asked, are you ever going to show proof of the evidence you say you have of a stolen election? Will you ever show that? Where does Hunter Biden's laptop come into it? What the fuck? He just changed the subject. You see that?
It turned out to be totally false.
51 former intelligence agents, right?
They say.
And then Joe Rogan just fucking let him change the subject. He's like, oh, 51 intelligence agents. Red herring. Let's go fucking chase down this Hunter Biden laptop conspiracy theory. That was a bunch of bullshit. I don't know what to say. Joe Rogan just fucking was like, oh, okay, you want to lead me in this direction? Sure, fucking Donald Trump, sure, you can lead me wherever you want to go.
That made, I don't believe it's this much, but it doesn't have to. I lost by I didn't lose, but.
He was going to say, I lost by a whisker, and then he caught himself. Holy shit, dude.
They say I lost, Joe. They say I lost by 22,000 votes. That's like 1/10 of 1%, less than that. It's a tiny little thing. 22,000 votes spread over this period. So, 51 intelligence agents lied. They lied. They knew it was.
So, do you see what he just did? He started with Hunter Biden's laptop. Then he went, I lost by a whisker. Now he's going back to Hunter Biden's laptop. There's no connection Zero connection between Hunter Biden's laptop and the 2020 election. There is no connection there whatsoever. But he's trying to weave those two together to make a false idea in your head. And Joe Rogan just fucking went right into it. Just walked right into it.
It was Hunter's. It was from his bed. It was Hunter's laptop. They said it was created by Russia. Russia. It was the Russia hoax.
Do you see how Joe Rogan just fucking went off on this conspiracy theory from Donald Trump? It had nothing to... The election of 2020 had nothing to do with Hunter Biden's laptop. In fact, nothing ever came of Hunter Biden's laptop. The only thing that came of it was that Hunter Biden was in possession of a firearm while being a drug addict. That was the only thing. That was what he was convicted on. Nothing to do with anything else. Anything else they insinuate. That's what Republicans do. They insinuate. They create this wispy, smoky, like, appearance of something mysterious happening. But they never actually settle on it because it's not solid. And if you ever start poking at it, you're gonna find it's not even real. But the projection looks really scary, which is what they try to do. The insinuation looks really scary. If you don't poke at it, if you don't question it, it's scary. Ooh. So so when Trump was challenged directly to put up evidence showing that his claim of a stolen election was real, all he had to do, he had the opportunity to give the evidence, and instead he brought in Hunter Biden to make a conspiracy about Hunter Biden. And Joe Rogan fucking just went along with it. What else do I got here? I don't know if I can show this clip of The Daily Show, but it's pretty good. Let me try it. Donald Trump got the media to focus on his French fry stunt, and his speech about Arnold Palmer's dick, and the media focused on that and didn't focus on Donald Trump saying, "Oh yeah, like I have enemies that I'm going to use the military to take care of. These enemies are my opposition politicians." They just ignored that. Like, what kind of person says these things? A fucking dictator. That's who says it. A dictator says those things. Donald Trump is a dictator. So people who vote for Donald Trump want fascism and want dictatorship. Do you see how the Republicans are straight up lying and gaslighting their people? And if their people only get information from Republicans, they're getting lied to. They're not going to know that Donald Trump was a dictator, because it all gets hand washed away by the leaders. They just ignore it. So the leaders are on board with the coup and with the dictatorship. They are absolutely on board, and their people are getting tricked by their politicians. Their politicians are actively lying to them in service to dictatorship.
Why we have to
right? If Trump is just bullshitting, how do we know what's real? Like, all the Republican politicians say that he's bullshitting and that he didn't really mean what he said. Well, then what does he mean? Anything that he says? I mean, he was pretty real on the Muslim ban. Once he became president, he banned the Muslims, and the Muslim leaders are endorsing him for that. They're like, "Yep, ban us." That's what they're saying. Shit. Carl Sagan said, "One of the saddest lessons of history is this. If we've been bamboozled long enough, we tend to reject any evidence of the bamboozle. We are no longer interested in finding out the truth. The bamboozle has captured us. It is simply too painful to acknowledge, even to ourselves, that we've been taken. Once you give a charlatan power over you, you almost never get it back." And we are literally witnessing this happen in real time in our own society, in American society. People will reject the evidence of their own eyes and ears for the party line. See how good of an invention this is? Like all that work of sorting and carrying it up and doing it myself manually. Oh man, it was such a pain. Look how much how much work I can do if I don't have to deal with that. So yeah. Oh yeah, there it is. Trump's former Joint Chiefs chair. Trump is fascist to the core. No one has ever been as dangerous to this country as Donald Trump, retired General Mark Milley said. Now I realize he's a total fascist. But the Confederates don't care. They're worshiping traitors and admiring dictators. So yeah, that's all the bad news, right? You gotta hear the bad news, sorry. The good news is I think Harris is gonna win. They're really, Donald Trump is, or the Republicans are trying to rig the polling by introducing a bunch of garbage polls that show Donald Trump winning. They use questionable methodology, but their goal isn't the truth. Their goal is to skew the averages for the polling to make it look like it's closer than it really is. You need to vote, right? Because you have to vote. Because the bigger of margin of victory that Harris gets, the less likely that Donald Trump's coup will succeed. Because he's going to try to stage an overthrow of everything. He's going to try to overthrow the election when he loses. So the bigger the win, the harder it is for him to do that. So I believe that Harris is going to win. Even though she might lose Michigan. Because of Biden policy. Like, it'll be closer than I really wanted it to be. It'd be great if she won all the battleground states. But this might like hurt her chances in Michigan. Biden's policy might, like, Biden's Zionism might kill her chance in Michigan. But yeah, so something weird is going on. You know, I should talk about that. That's kind of important. Ah, there it is. A new thing. New sensation. Right now. Ba-da-bum-ba-dum. Republican Mike Clark is backing Carrie Ann Burgess. So that makes me suspicious. What's going on? An election official in Reno, Nevada tells AP she was forced out before the 2024 election. So this woman, Carrie Ann Burgess, resigned from her position about a month ago, saying that she was way too stressed out by the whole thing. Which, okay, I understand. I totally get that. But now she's coming up like weeks before the election, and now she's making the allegation that no, actually she didn't resign. She was forced out by the board, by the county. She was forced out by the county. And she doesn't say why she was forced out. She just said she was forced out. And the county of Washoe County isn't saying anything right now because it's in litigation. So it can't say anything. But the only people backing Carrie Ann Burgess is a guy named Mike Clark. Who is Mike Clark? He's a Republican who's also a committee member on the election board for Washoe County. And he was one of the people who tried to overthrow the primary election in Washoe County earlier this year. He and two other Republicans voted to not certify the primary election. And it was going to cause all sorts of chaos. And it was kicked up to the Secretary of State, where the Secretary of State ordered them to certify the election because it wasn't their authority to question the integrity of the election. It was just their duty to do it. And it was going to get messy until someone gave up, and then they went ahead and certified the election 3-2. Well, so the guy who's tried to stage a coup of the primary election is backing this woman who's making these allegations. So I don't know how legitimate are these accusations. It just sounds like another Republican attempt to cause chaos with the election. Because that's all they have, right? They only have chaos. That's their plan. Donald Trump's plan is to cause so much chaos that the results of the election are thrown out in favor of either the House of Representatives or the Supreme Court, both of which give the Republicans an advantage. In other words, Donald Trump can get around the people by kicking it to the Supreme Court or the House of Representatives, because the House of Representatives will determine who is the president through a vote of the state legislatures, and Republicans control more state legislatures. Not that less people, less voters in general, they represent less voters, but they have more control of small states with low population. They control those state legislatures, and so there's more of them. So that's a way that the Republicans will be able to install Donald Trump over the will of the people. By kicking into the state legislature, or they want to do what they did in 2000 and have the Supreme Court select the president, which will be Donald Trump. So that's the goal, and here's an example of one way they're going to do it is by getting the Republican council members or commissioners to refuse to certify the election. So it's already happening that they're trying to do this. Like, will it make a difference? I don't know. That has yet to be seen. But yeah, in other words, people who are antagonistic toward democracy and who worship dictators are trying to overthrow our election. And the way they're going to do it is by trying to discount our vote, by kicking it to the Supreme Court or the state or the House of Representatives. That's what they're going to do. So we have to be on alert. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what we can do. I don't know. I'm not that smart. I don't know what we can do about it, other than vote in such large numbers that that their attempts are seen as obvious. That's the only thing I can think of. Vote. You have to vote. If you don't vote, then you're pre-surrendering to the fascists. People who don't vote pre-surrendered to the fascists, who have the ability to vote but choose not to. They have pre-surrendered to the fascists. The way that Jeff Bezos and the LA Times pre-surrendered to Trump. Alright, that's all my videos. Anyways, you get the picture. It's the same story as before. We are trying to create multiracial democracy and transform the United States into something the world has never seen. They are trying to drag us back into the old forms of authoritarian and dictatorship. So you have a choice to either support democracy, multiracial democracy, and the continuation of the American experiment, or to go back to Europe's old forms of slavery and genocide. That's our choice. Donald Trump represents the old forms of violence. Harris represents the new form of multiracial democracy. It's not perfect, but it's better than where we've been before. So, to me, the choice is clear. Until next time, America, Pagokiro out. Peace. Stop.